So I plan on wrapping up the standard form and vertex form stuff with some formulas for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from vertex form to standard form and then back the other way, but we're going to do it without any numbers or anything like that, and we're just going to find some formulas out of this to make it a little bit easier so we don't have to constantly go through the steps to change from one to the other. So first we're going to start with changing this to standard form. And how we start that is we're going to change this 2 that's here and write it as 2 separate pieces as x minus h 2 times. So I'll write y equals a times x minus h times another x minus h plus k. Then we're going to multiply these together, x and x together. Just kind of like draw your distribution here. We'll keep the a out here for now. Make a big set of parentheses. Do x times x, which is x squared. And then we do x times negative h. That's negative hx. And then the last two would be negative h times x, negative hx again, and negative h times another negative h, which is positive h squared. And then we'll bring the plus k on the end. We're almost there. Now we're going to distribute the a to everything. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have y equals ax squared minus ahx minus ahx plus, oops, I forgot to put the a on that one, ah squared. And then plus k again brings down. We're actually almost done with this whole thing. We're just going to do one last thing, which is combine these two in the middle because they're like terms. They both have the same variables and everything on them. So we'll have ax squared, and when we combine these two, if you have one negative ax squared and another negative ax squared, or ahx, when you put those two together, it's like saying negative 1 minus 1. You get a total of negative 2 ahx. Bring everything else down. Nothing else goes together. We have no more like terms. So now it kind of looks like it's in standard form. The a value is just a, but the b value is a little different here. Now the b value is what's in front of x, and that's this whole thing. So that's what b is equal to. It's negative 2 ah. And the c value is whatever is outside of x squared and x all by itself out here, is this whole term here, positive ah squared plus k. Now, it seemed like a lot of work and maybe like a little bit useless, but now what we're going to do is look at a problem up here like the original, identify ahk, and then just figure out what that is for b and c here, and put it in standard form. So let's try one. Using the formulas for b and c, which we have above, write each equation in standard form. So here's your vertex. We have a is 4, and then we're going to go ahead and write the vertex out, which is be 3, 7. Remember, you have to change the one in the middle here to an opposite sign. So that's your h and that's your k. So we already have a. Our goal, let me go ahead and write down here what our goal is. Our goal is to get standard form, which looks like this, right? Ax squared plus bx plus c. So what we need from this is we need to know the a value, which they give us a. We need to know b and c, and we're going to get that by using the formulas up here. There's b and there's c. And then we're just going to plug in the numbers. So to find b, we would do negative 2 times a, which is 4, times h, in this case is the number 3, and then multiply them together, you end up getting negative 24. So that's what's going to go into this b spot right here. And then the c value, go through it again, but we're going to use this new formula up here. So it's going to be a, which is 4, times h, which is 3 squared, and then plus 7. So that would be 3 squared is 9 times 4 plus 7. That's 36 plus 7, which we're going to have 43. So as a final answer, using the a value that we have up here, they gave that to us. We found b, and we found c. The answer would be y equals 4x squared. That's what a is. B is negative 24, so minus 24x. C is plus 43. That's your answer in standard form. It might be a little bit easier rather than going through all of this work up here multiple times. Now we can just use this as kind of like a shortcut. So I'll go ahead and set this one up on the right here, and you can go ahead and finish it. A is negative 2, and then we have to identify the vertex in this one. Vertex. So H is going to be negative 5, comma, negative 1. That's H, and then that's K. To set it up, we got to define what B is and find what C is. Then you can write it in the standard form. So B is negative 2 times A. In this case, would be negative 2 again, times H, which is negative 5. You can go ahead and figure out what that is. C is A, which in this case is negative 2, times H squared, which is negative 5 squared, plus K, which is negative 1. Figure out what those two things are, and then fill in the blanks. Whoops. The blanks would be, we already know what A is. That's negative 2. So it's negative 2x squared. And then you'll figure out what that is with x plus something else. And that's your B and C. So it'll come down here and here. Figure out what those two numbers are. On the back side, now we're going to do a little bit harder version of this, is where we're going to go backwards from standard form to vertex form. So our goal is to get the top piece up here from standard form. And you kind of know how to do this already because we've done this many times before with numbers in it. Just finding the vertex in vertex form. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to subtract C. This one is a little bit longer and more difficult to understand, but if you get stuck, try to pause it or rewind or whatever you need to do to understand it. We'll go ahead and put some blank spots in there. So ax squared, ax squared plus bx plus blank. Whoops. Okay, and then so I know it's going to be kind of weird. Usually we do the b divided by 2 thing. But what I'm going to do is take out this a that's out front here by factoring it out. So I'm going to factor it out as a by essentially what we're doing is we're dividing these by a, right? So we're going to get x squared plus b over ax. I know this is kind of weird. Just stick with me. The other side is not changing right now. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to take b over a, and we're going to divide that by 2. So I'm going to put it on this side over here. So we're going to take b over a and divide it by 2. Now, I'm not going to write it like this. I wouldn't write it like this because you have a fraction over a fraction. So instead, I'm going to write it like this. Divided by 2, we can write it like this. And so that's the same thing. Oh, yeah, and then we also have to square this. That's the same thing as saying b over a, the keep change flip, where you keep the first fraction, change this to a multiplication, flip this around, make it 1/2 squared. Now we can just multiply the fractions together, go across the top, go across the bottom. So that's b times 1, which is b. The bottom is 2a. Then we square it. So squaring everything inside there, including the top and bottom, so we get b squared. The bottom you get 2 squared, which is 4a squared. That goes in our blank spot on the right. B squared over 4a squared. However, that's not the same thing that you write on this side. Where you write on the left-hand side in this blank over here is a times that. So if you look at it as a over 1, it would be a times b squared on top. The bottom would be 4a squared. We're almost there. I know it looks kind of ugly, but we're almost there. Okay. Now what we have to do is factor the right-hand side. So we're going to factor this side over here. So we have a times what goes in the parentheses squared. And if you forget what this is, I mean, obviously we don't want to factor all this nastiness of b squared over 4a squared, all that stuff. If you forget what that is, or where it comes from, the answer comes from right before we squared. So right here, b over 2a. That's going to be inside the parentheses. It's going to be x plus b over 2a. Left-hand side, we have y minus c. And we can also simplify this left-hand side a little bit. If you see, we have an a on top and a squared on the bottom. I'm going to cross the one a on top with one of the ones on the bottom. So we're still left with 1 on the bottom. So we have plus b squared over 4a. So it's not a squared anymore on the bottom. And we're almost done. We're going to go ahead and throw the c and the b squared over 4a. We're going to put that on the other side by adding it. So plus c, and then we'll subtract the b squared part. So b squared over 4a minus b squared over 4a. So our final answer when we cross these out will be y equals a times x plus b over 2a squared. Oops. Plus c on the end, and then minus b squared over 4a. Now we don't have to do all this work anymore. If we have something in standard form like this with a squared, ax squared plus bx plus c, now we can get the vertex out of this, which is hk, right? So the vertex is h comma k. So the h value is this inside the parentheses. Remember, we have to change the sign of this. So it's actually negative b over 2a. And then this k value is everything outside of the parentheses on the right, which is c minus b squared over 4a. And now this is what we're going to use to get the vertex. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to identify a, b, and c. Now we just got to find h and k, and then we can put it in vertex form as well, and we can fill in the vertex down here. So we have h is, I'm just going to use the formulas that I have up here. If you look up there, it's negative b. So negative b is negative 3, so negative 3, divided by 2 times a, which is 3. If we just simplify this, the top becomes a big old positive 3, double negative. The bottom becomes 6, so that answer is 1/2. Uh-oh, 1/2. Uh-oh, I'm losing it. 1/2. Okay, and then the k value is c minus, so c is 5, minus b squared. B is negative 3 squared, divided by 4 times a, which is 3. So do one thing at a time. We do 5 minus, and then negative 3 squared is 9. Oh boy. Over 12. Oh, this is messing up. 5 minus 9 over 12, so this would be 5 minus 3/4, or 0.75. I'm going to go ahead and change this into a decimal. Minus 0.75, that would be 4.25. Okay, almost done here. So our vertex is h comma k, hk. So h was 1/2, or 0.5, and the k value was 4.25. Much easier than going through all this work that's up here, right? Just use these two formulas here. And if we want to go a step further, we could write this in vertex form. That'd be y equals a, which is from the beginning, which is 3. And then, let's put it down here. We have x, and this is your h value, 0.5, so it's x minus 0.5 squared. And then plus k in the end, plus 4.25. So you're left with doing one other one, which I will start with you. Then you can finish it yourself. So h would be, go ahead and label ABC. H is, look back up here, negative b. So it's negative 6 divided by 2 times negative 3. So figure out what that is. That'd be negative 6 over negative 6, which is 1. Then find k. C is negative 1 minus b squared. So that is 6 squared all over 4 times a, which is negative 3 again here. So that would be negative 1 minus 6 squared is 36 divided by negative 12. You want to do the fraction part first, divide those two numbers, and then you'll tack on the negative 1. So it'd be negative 1. I guess I'm doing this whole problem. Divide those, you get 3. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. So the vertex is 1, 2. And we can do vertex form. I'll have you guys do that and finish it off. What in the world? And the a value, if you don't know where that's at, it's from the very beginning. So it's this negative 3. That's what you'd use, negative 3. Then fill in the blanks the rest. It's x minus something squared plus something. That's your HK. And so that's the last of this going from standard to vertex form. Again, we did it all one time, the long and the more difficult way for going from standard to vertex and then also going from vertex to standard. But now we don't have to do it anymore. As long as you know these formulas, they're not too hard to remember, but if you know these 4 things, then that would be enough to get them into the right form. So that is it for standard vertex formulas.